everyone, and welcome to another episode of Don't Wait Till Pigs Fly, a podcast conversation with successful business owners who share their secrets of thriving in business while living with chronic illness. Here's Nancy Becker.
Today I have the pleasure of re-interviewing someone I interviewed back at the beginning of my podcast a couple of years ago. And I am really interested in learning what's been going on for him. I want to hear what exciting things are happening in his life. And I know that he's got some wonderful tips and strategies for us that he's going to share with us. So with that, I am going to say welcome, Richard Kaufman. Please introduce yourself and let's get this show going.
Hi, guys. My name is Richard Kaufman. I'm also known as the Comeback Coach. I help people that are struggling with anything health, fitness, addiction-related issues, and I also help people coming back in business if they've have any setbacks. So I have my podcast is the number 8 veteran podcast in the world. I just started another podcast, and I'm doing it all while being 80% blind. So I totally can dig what you're talking about as far as how having to reimagine yourself and your business.
You know, you're a perfect person for us to be talking with today because you get it. So many people, you know, a lot of the people that I work with chronic illnesses, they're called the hidden disabilities because looking at us, we look perfectly fine. You know, we don't look like there's anything wrong with us. So we get people who in their best intentions will say things like, "Oh, you look so good today. You're feeling better. How are things going for you?" When you may be having the worst day of your life, but it doesn't show. So when somebody gets it because they're there with us, it makes it so much better because we can actually say, "Oh, there's somebody that understands what I'm going through." And especially for someone who's got a business, who's doing the things that we want to be able to do, that's wonderful. So welcome, Richard. I'm really, really glad we're reconnecting and, you know, being able to talk together. So I'm just going to start the conversation with, because I don't think when we talked a couple of years ago that you were going down this journey yet with your eyesight.
Nope. Everything was all good and dandy until I got hurt on duty in the military and I lost 80% of my vision. So they medically retired me out, but I was running a $1 million a year store at the time. And as of January 30th, my birthday last year, I had another setback and I haven't worked since because me and you we're around the same age. So we all remember Mr. Magoo, and I got to use the Mr. Magoo 30X magnifier to read anything. So I sat, like you said, you know, you sit in a depression, you're sitting wallowing in your own stuff, let everything go by the wayside until somebody told me, "Listen, you need to get your ass in gear. You need to get back up and start doing something." So that's when I restarted the podcast and shifted my what I was doing on the podcast. And I had to figure out a way to do the podcast because it's totally different now. So I had to kind of find ways, and, you know, sometimes you got to dig a little deep and you got to ask for help.
Absolutely. And that's a hard thing, I think, for most of us to do. We grow up we're self-reliant. We're, you know, being from the United States, we're taught that we can pull ourselves up by our own bootstraps. And heaven forbid that we ask somebody for help. Because that's demeaning, that's a lack of self-esteem. But really, in the long run, it's supportive and it's helpful and it gets us places where we can't get on our own, right?
Yeah. And sometimes, like you said, you just have to say, listen, I need help. And there's people out there that are more than willing to help you, because they know that you're not asking something to just to get something from them. You're actually asking for help, and hopefully going to be able to pay it forward in the future.
Yeah, that's really important. And if we look at it that way, as a blessing as opposed to a curse, so to speak, it makes all the difference in the world. Let's talk a little bit about some of the tools and some of the things that you have found that you're either working with or that you tried that didn't work for you. I think it's just as frustrating to say, there's so much out here. What is it that's going to work for me?
Well,
and you start going through things, and it's really hard.
Well, this thing saved my life. And what happened was, I couldn't see anything. I couldn't read anything for 6 months. And one day I accidentally picked up my wife's magnifier joking around. And in the corner, they had a little 30x magnifier. And I looked through it, and I was able to read a letter. And I said, wow, do they actually make these big size? And my wife found one. And as soon as it came in, I was able to read books again. I was able to go on YouTube. So, this something stupid as a $34 magnifier changed my whole life. And,
Yeah, that's incredible. And I joke with people, because when we talked before, I was still living in Michigan, and we moved about 6 months ago now. We moved down to Huntsville, Alabama. And one of the big things about Huntsville is that it's where NASA is now. There's a huge, big NASA. The space station shuttle is here, and all kinds of stuff are here. It is filled, the town is filled with scientists, literally rocket scientists. And I will joke and I'll say, this may not be rocket science, although if you want to talk to a rocket scientist, I can find you one. But some of the tools and things that are out there are simple. It's like for me, who I'm in a wheelchair, I can't drive. If my husband doesn't do everything for me, pretty much, that requires feet, I can't do it. And so when it comes time to go buy groceries, I go, I guess we're not going to eat tonight because I couldn't get to the grocery store to buy groceries. Well, you know what? There's a program out there that's called Shipt, that all you do is pick up the phone and you say, hey, I want this and this and this and this. And somebody goes and buys your groceries for you and delivers them to your house. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And I don't have to worry about going grocery shopping. That is not rocket science, but it is a tremendous help for me and takes worry and frustration off my plate. The magnifying glass for you is a wonderful tool that makes things so much better for you. So we think about how we're never going to be able to do anything because we're not technologically savvy, or we're not able to hook up a computer anymore for whatever reason. I can't do a lot of typing anymore. I've got a bad arm, and so I found this wonderful software that allows me to dictate everything.
Yeah, and then I started thinking, because then we went out and bought a brand new phone. I got the new iPhone, whatever, 12, whatever it is. And they don't really think about a person being blind, because the old iPhones, you could just swipe up to get in. Now you got to put in your code. So what do they do if you're blind? You don't think about stuff like that. But what I did find is with the new iPhones, or even the old iPhones, I was feeling so lonely, but I never realized that I can send text message through voice and hear text message through voice. So that opened up a whole nother world to where, all of a sudden, I'm in darkness, and now all of a sudden, hey, there's stuff happening out there in life, and it's not on the Fox News. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's, how do you go about when you say, I can't do something, I need to do something? How do I make it happen?
Well, my podcast, I interview people, and I interviewed a couple people that have all four of their arms or, legs and arms blown off. And they're out there swimming, they're out there skiing. So, what is my excuse that, I have a problem with my eyes? So what I'll do is I'll actually go find somebody that has the same problem that I have, ask them for advice. And usually they'll be like, all right, this is the way you need to do this. This is the way you need to do this. Or sometimes it's as simple as talking to my wife, like, I was screwing up my calendar so bad because I really didn't have a process. But she's like, just keep it simple. Notepad and pen. Write down because when I would do interviews, I would schedule interviews, but I would forget Standard Time, Eastern Standard Time, Pacific. And, I'd be getting calls at like 3:00 in the morning because it was from Australia. So eventually my wife just said, just write everything down and then also put it into your calendar on your phone. This way you have two separate ways, and you're doing, you have two ways of not making the same stupid mistake. And I never knew how easy it was to put something on your calendar. It's right there, and it's free, and it's easy to use.
Yeah. I'll give you another tip, because that's one of my biggest problems between the meetings I attend, the meetings I run, the podcasts I run, the interviews where I'm being interviewed, doctor's appointments. My calendars are absolutely jam-packed. And for me, I color code them, because I can, anything that's red is business, anything that's green is doctors. But if I don't remember to look at my calendars, I forget. So I've got a couple of them. I bought an Alexa, I've got a Google Home, and I've got Siri on my phone. That Google Calendar actually connects to those pieces of those platforms. So I can program Alexa, for instance. I'm sitting in my office working, and I've programmed my Alexa to tell me 15 minutes before an appointment that I've got an appointment coming up. So it's something I hear, not just look at. And that has been a tremendous help to me, because I'll forget to look at my calendar.
Now, my wife keeps great calendars, for birthdays, for doctor's appointments. And I kept screwing up all the time, making appointments, doing a podcast while she has an appointment. And one day she just looked at me. She's like, listen, stupid, why don't you just take a picture of the calendar and keep it in your phone? And I was like, oh, never thought of that. So I think in my life, it's to keep it simple, stupid. That's the way I have to run things. And it seems to be working out the last couple of months very well.
Good. That's great.
Growing a successful business is hard enough, but trying to do it while adjusting to a new challenge, like a chronic illness, can definitely derail the best of us. Nancy understands. She has been there, done that. With 30 years of success, she knows the necessary business hacks to increase your income and relieve the day-to-day stress of running a business, all while living in an uncooperative body. Nancy can help you. Connect with her today through the links in the show notes so you can see your business soar higher.
But then back to my original question was, and you answered it when you said you go to talk to somebody else who's in a similar situation, and I love that. But say you've got a question on hooking up your podcast to a new platform, and you don't know anybody who's on that platform. Do you just say, I'm not going to do that, even though I know it might be good for my podcast? What are the things you do when you need answers and you may not know someone to go to ask?
Well, unfortunately, sometimes you got to spend a little money. Sometimes you have to, like I bought one of my friend's podcast guides, and, it was worth, I spent $27. It was worth $270 because I found out that I can just go to one app called Headliner, and it will repost, and it'll make all kinds of videos so I can repurpose it instead of me having to do 10,000 things. So, but if I didn't spend that $27, I would have never able to do what I do now. So sometimes if you don't know somebody, you might have to spend a little money to get coached by somebody.
I love it. I love it. You're talking my language there, and I know that there are programs if we're if we're talking about blindness, for instance, as one of the issues. And I have a person that I interviewed a couple of years ago that totally lost her eyesight when she was about 15 years old, and she has just found an incredible number of tools and things that she has on her phone that she takes with her everywhere to help her. And she has things that read to her. Like she can, and I think Google does this if I'm not, wrong. It's Word, I know, does it. You can program software to actually read things to you so that
Yep.
you don't have to worry about reading them yourself.
And they have things like on Facebook, you can click, say if somebody has a long post, you can click it and it will speak back to you.
See, I didn't know Facebook did it. That's interesting.
Yeah, it'll read you the post. I guess it's all, well, maybe it's because it's on the Apple, that is just one of the things that they put into their, for the algorithm to be able to help with Facebook and Instagram and stuff like that.
Interesting. Yeah. What do you do when you get down?
I listened to some of the episodes where people, like I said, there's people that have, like one guy's been on 9 deployments and had his foot blown off. And within a year, he's back in uniform and he's back out in the field. So I listen to stuff like that and I'm be like, all right, if he got through that, I can get through this, but also people know me as the comeback coach, not as the quick coach. So, whatever I'm going through, I have to come back because people expect me and I expect it of myself to be able to come back from whatever I'm dealing with.
I think that's really interesting. And I don't generally talk about this, but I think in this case, it's important. I don't focus on mindset, but mindset really has a lot to do with all of this, doesn't it?
Well, I mean, now if we're talking about chronic illnesses, that's what we're really talking about. A lot of it has to do with how you're thinking, because and even if you just change a few words, like we got 3 feet of snow last week here in Jersey, and we had to shovel. So I changed my thought process to, instead of saying I have to go shovel, to I get to go shovel, because some people are not able to. So, just things like that, where I just have to change in my thoughts, even if even if I lose 100% of my vision, I still am able to hear. I'm still able to walk. I'm still able to touch and smell. So, I heard an old saying from an old gentleman. He said, the guy with no shoes can't complain to the guy with no feet.
Perfect. I love it. I love it. I'm gonna put that up on my LinkedIn. Thank you.
So that's, and of course, like I'm just turned 52, so I'm having to learn about technology, where my 9-year-old can cut, paste, and do all this stuff. And I have no idea. I'm like, what do you mean cut and paste? Explain it to me. But it's all a learning process. We all have to learn.
That's right. And these are things that, whether you've got a business or not, these are things that are important for a person's mental and physical health. But is there anything specifically business related that you want us to know about that has helped you?
Um, if you're not on LinkedIn, you need to be on LinkedIn. I'm a big LinkedIn guy. I just got approved to be able to go live on LinkedIn,
Yay!
and I'm like, wow, that's pretty. For me, that's pretty cool. I mean, it may not be important for people, but for a blind guy to be able to do that, that's pretty cool. But I find a lot of my guests on LinkedIn, but I also find a lot of um, I'm a part of a couple blind, for people that have vision problem groups. So, get involved with groups that are with people that have the same issues that you have. Or maybe if you're having issues and you're not full blown blind, maybe you start, getting the white cane, getting people to come into your house to teach you how to use everything while you still have vision. Maybe just try to head off some stuff at the pass before stuff happens.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's important. One of the things I also do all the time that I think is important is, and you're alluding to it when you're talking about calendars, is I think it's number one, it's really important to plan. Plan your day, plan your existence, but being flexible at the same time, knowing that things happen. And as a add on to that, for me, I think it's important. I don't want to dwell on the fact that I've got a medical issue, but I want people that work with me to know that I have a medical issue. So if at the last minute I would have had to say to you, Richard, we can't have this podcast today because I got called to a doctor's appointment, that
Yeah.
I don't feel guilty about it. You understand, and we can say, okay, we can reschedule. So I think it's important to let people know what's going on for you and not keep it hidden.
Yeah. And I think it's great. Like I have people on my podcast and I let them know ahead of time. And it seems like once they know that I'm blind, it's kind of like everything just calms down. There's the expectations, so they know that, hey, he's just another guy or, another person they're not going to be drilling me and trying to kill me because they've gone something through that hard. So they understand and they have empathy. And I think, dealing with what we deal with is sometimes you have to have a lot of empathy, but you also have to realize that if you have a chronic illness, that you cannot pour from an empty cup. So you have to take care of yourself first, and then you'll be able to take care of everybody else. Because sometimes we get so bogged down with helping everybody else that we start to suffer.
Absolutely. And that's why I've gotten to the point. I was just telling somebody a few minutes ago that I only try to work a couple of hours a day, because my energy level, especially with living the way we're living right now in this camper, we have 2 cats that for whatever reason about 4 o'clock in the morning decide it's time to get up and party. And they're jumping on us and they're running around and they're going nuts. So I don't sleep. I don't sleep because I've constantly got stuff going through my head. What am I going to do for my business today? So I'm tired. I'm exhausted because I'm always in pain. And so I know that I can't do a whole heck of a lot on any one given day. And if I do, then I'm going to suffer for it down the road. So I was explaining to someone, I have a team. I've hired people to do the things that I may not be the best at, I may not like doing, that may zap my energy, so that I can do the things where I shine and that the business needs. And so I think you've got to take care of yourself first. That's a very, very important issue.
Yeah. So even, a lot of people are struggling with this whole COVID thing. Everybody's worried about that. But just think about it. I mean, I have a friend that actually did this. He hired an Uber and he's like, just put me on the clock for an hour. I just want you to drive me around. just to be able to get out and see things. Yeah. But it's something simple as it's an Uber app. It's an app. Mm-hmm. If you can't get out because, you have nobody to take you to the store, there's an app for everything now these days.
Yes, there is.
So sometimes you just have to say, or even if you have I'm big on Facebook, I've got 5,000 friends or whatever. But if I have a question, I'll just put it out there and people are going to respond to you. They may say something stupid, but you're going to get 10 or 15 responses and they're going to answer your questions if you have a question.
Yeah. I can't believe our half hour has gone by already. It's wild. I mean, we've just had a great conversation. Before we say goodbye, what is it that you want to share with the audience that we haven't already talked about?
Okay. I just want, I'm holding my own mental health summit coming up on April 3rd, and it's called Today I Decide. And the reason why I called it that is because the 3 most important words in English language are today I decide. Because once you make a decision, then all you have to do is act upon it. But the hardest thing is making a decision. So anybody that's watching, just make a decision. It's your choice to be a victim or a victor. It's your choice.
I love it. That's beautiful. If you will get me the link to sign up for it, we will make sure that goes in the show notes because I want to be there. And I think a lot of other people are going to want to too. And
it's free. There's no charge. It's free. We got like 12 different speakers. I'm the last speaker. But it's all free. And it's for people that are struggling with the mind, the body, and the spirit. So all 3.
Sounds incredible. I will be there. That's wonderful. Thank you so much, Richard. This has been an absolutely wonderful conversation today. I've loved touching bases with you again and getting caught up on things that we're going through. And everybody, make sure you listen to this. Join Richard in his summit. I think it'll be incredible. It sounds fantastic. If you have questions, put them in the comment section and we'll get back with you with answers. Let me know if there's anybody else you think should be a part of our show going forward, and let us know how we're doing. And until next time, get out there, be productive, and soar higher. Take care, y'all. Bye-bye.